Ever feel like you're just stuck on that financial hamster wheel? Working really hard, but financial freedom feels miles away. Or maybe you look around and see some people who seem to have totally bypassed that whole traditional worker and save thing and built real wealth. How do they do that? Okay, let's get into it. Today, we are diving deep into a really thorough analysis of one of the biggest and maybe most controversial personal finance books out there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. But here's the thing, we're not just rehashing the book itself. Our mission here is to pull out the key insights from a really comprehensive review of the book. We want to get what this review tells us about its core message, its, well, undeniable impact, and maybe most importantly, if it's still a good place to start for you, if you're looking to seriously change how you think about money. So the whole story hinges on Kiyosaki's two dads, right? His actual dad, the poor dad, and his friend's dad, the rich dad. And this contrast, as our review really highlights, sets up everything else. Yeah, the review digs into these two guys representing completely different ways of seeing the world, financially speaking. Kiyosaki's biological father, his poor dad. He's the picture of the traditional path. Highly educated, valued formal education, believed in job security, working hard for your paycheck. The review really frames this as that standard mindset, find security inside the system. And then you've got the rich dad, his best friend's father. And his approach, based on the review, was totally different, a businessman. He taught young Robert about financial smarts, investing, making money work for you.
Exactly. The review emphasizes this entrepreneurial view focused on building assets, not just earning wages. It's less about the paycheck security, more about building a secure system. And what's really interesting here, like the review points out, isn't just that there are two paths, but how Kiyosaki uses this contrast. It's a storytelling tool, right? It immediately makes you question your own assumptions about earning money. The review stresses this isn't just a story, it's the engine of the whole book. It really throws into sharp relief the difference between just trading your time for dollars and actively building wealth through assets that make money on their own. It's that core comparison, the review says, that makes the book's ideas pretty easy for beginners to grasp, but still gives, more experienced folks something to chew on.
Right. And that takes us straight into the book's first really big idea, the one the review says just blows people's minds. The rich don't work for money. Now, that sounds, well, pretty counterintuitive, doesn't it?
It does. But the review explains Kiyosaki doesn't mean they don't put in effort. It's about where the effort goes. Instead of just swapping hours for pay, they focus their energy and money on building assets, things that generate passive income.
So money that comes in, whether they're actively punching a clock or not, it kind of redefines work.
Precisely. The review really emphasizes this as a paradigm shift. It's about escaping that direct link. Time equals money. Think about it, for most people, you stop working, the money stops. Full stop. But Kiyosaki, through Rich Dad, pushes for building these, engines, right, that keep producing income even when you step away. Passive income, as the review notes, isn't magic. It's about doing the work up front to create systems, investments, a business, maybe real estate, that pay you back over time. This concept, the review suggests, is often that first big aha moment. It opens up the possibility of financial freedom beyond just having a job. It's about building a financial life, not just earning a wage.
And needing to understand how to build those engines leads right into the next key point the review highlights. Financial literacy matters a lot. It's not just about earning big bucks, it's about understanding how money actually works. Investments, assets versus liabilities, cash flow. The review is clear. Kiyosaki argues this knowledge is way more valuable for building wealth than just a high salary.
Yeah, and the review stresses something critical here that people often miss. We assume high income equals wealth, right? But Kiyosaki, and the review agrees, says without that financial know-how, a big salary can just mean big spending. You're not actually getting wealthier. If we connect this to the bigger picture, financial literacy isn't about being an accountant. It's about knowing the rules of the money game so you can play it smart. The review points out that this understanding lets your money work for you instead of you always working for it. It's like the operating manual for your finances.
That's such a key distinction. And it perfectly sets up the third lesson the review focuses on, the crucial importance of a mindset shift. This isn't just about tactics. It's about how you fundamentally think about money, risk, and opportunity. Kiyosaki, via Rich Dad, really pushes readers to, embrace calculated risks, constantly look for opportunities, and think like an investor, not just an employee.
Exactly. And this mindset piece the review suggests might be the most powerful part because it directly challenges how most of us are raised to think about money. We're often taught, play it safe, avoid risk, save, get a stable job. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, as the review describes, basically says, hang on a minute. It pushes for being proactive, for seeing problems as potential opportunities, for maybe embracing a bit of uncertainty that traditional advice avoids. And this raises an important question, doesn't it? How much of our financial caution is actually smart and how much is just learned behavior? Conditioning that might be holding us back. It's about shifting from seeing scarcity everywhere to seeing potential abundance, according to the review's take.
That's a big mental hurdle for many, and it connects directly to Kiyosaki's very practical definitions of assets versus liabilities. The review points out his definitions are super strict and sometimes surprising. Assets. Only things that put money into your pocket, like investments, businesses, rental properties. Liabilities, anything that takes money out. And this can include things we usually think of as valuable, like maybe a fancy car, or even your own home if it's mainly costing you money.
Right. And the review notes, this is where people often get confused. That big house feels like an asset. But if it's mostly draining cash mortgage, taxes, upkeep, Kiyosaki argues, and the review agrees, it's acting like a liability. Getting this distinction crystal clear, the review emphasizes, is absolutely fundamental to building wealth because it dictates where your money goes. You want to focus on buying things that generate income, not just things that cost you money or lose value. It's about asking that simple question with every purchase. Is this putting money in my pocket or taking it out?
Constantly asking that question, yeah. Which leads us to the final major lesson the review pulls out, the importance of entrepreneurship. Kiyosaki, as interpreted by the review, doesn't just present this as one option among many. He frames building businesses and making smart investments as, like, a primary path, often a faster path, even to building wealth and achieving real financial independence. It's about designing your financial future.
And this lesson, as the review shows, really ties everything else together beautifully. Entrepreneurship isn't just a job title, it's a method. A method for putting all those other principles into action, building assets, generating that passive income. It's about creating your own system that works for you, instead of just operating within someone else's system. The review highlights how this empowers you to move beyond just working for money, to designing how money works for you, becoming a creator, a builder, not just a cog in the machine. For many readers, the review notes, that's a truly liberating idea.
Okay, so like any book this popular, Rich Dad, Poor Dad gets a lot of praise, but also some real criticism. And the review we looked at gives a pretty balanced view. On the plus side, the review really commends its simple storytelling style. Makes complex ideas feel easy to understand, especially for beginners. It genuinely motivates people to think differently about money. The review calls it a catalyst, right? Especially if you're tired of that work till you drop narrative. It inspires that desire for financial independence, for maybe starting something yourself. It's a great Kickstarter for changing your thinking.
Definitely strong on motivation. But the review is also clear about the weaknesses, which is important for setting expectations. It specifically says the book lacks practical step-by-step investment strategies. It's more philosophy than a how-to manual. You'll need other resources for the nuts and bolts. Also, some critics, who the review mentions, feel Kiyosaki oversimplifies things, maybe makes it sound easier than it really is. And there's a point about certain anecdotes being questioned for authenticity, which, doesn't negate the lessons maybe, but it's something to be aware of. So this raises the important question for you, the listener. When you pick up this book, know what it is and what it isn't. See it as that foundational mind shift tool, not the complete A to Z financial plan.
So putting it all together, the powerful lessons, the valid criticisms, what's the verdict from this review? It lands on a solid 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
That's a strong rating, but definitely comes with those caveats we just discussed.
Yeah, that 45 rating really reinforces what the review concludes. It's a mindset shift book rather than a technical finance guide. If you're new to personal finance, or just feel stuck in that conventional thinking, the review suggests it's an excellent starting point. It gives you a completely new lens, a new way to see money, wealth, work itself. It's about sparking that change in thinking, challenging your assumptions, opening doors in your mind. Just don't expect a detailed investment strategy inside. Approached the right way, the review implies it really can change your financial path.
And that really sums up our deep dive into this review of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a spark, a catalyst for changing how you think about money, not necessarily a detailed map. It challenges the status quo, pushes you to look beyond the paycheck, and really rethink your whole relationship with work and wealth. So as you think about all this, maybe take a minute. Reflect on your own beliefs about money. What assumptions are you carrying around? What ideas from the Rich Dad philosophy, as described in the review, really challenge you? How might you start looking at your own financial choices through a slightly different lens now?
And building on that, maybe ask yourself this. Considering everything we've discussed about Rich Dad Poor Dad and how change starts with perspective, what's one single belief about money you currently hold that if you really questioned it, maybe even shifted it, what new path toward financial independence might that open up for you? Because that journey, it really does start in your head, doesn't it? Long before the numbers in your bank account start to change.